What up, you creeps and freaks? This movie is the biggest example of why a rating system just wouldn't work for me at all, and why I probably will never have one outside of I recommend and I don't recommend. Unless I come up with something really fucking clever. Like the double toasted guys have full price matinee rental, some old bullshit, and then the worst rating, which is a fuck you. I've always find those very, very funny. But ultimately, it's because of films this niche that I just don't know if a rating system would work for me at all. The movie we're talking about is Undertone. If somehow you've missed um, the hype train that comes with the trailer, the trailer that ends in a black screen, and then 2 seconds later, once you think the trailer's over, you hear a little demonic whisper come through the theater speakers, and it makes everyone in the theater every time just kind of go. You hear that too? Already the marketing for this movie, that alone was perfect for me. See, I chase horror because I want to be scared, and there was something about this film and its presentation and its focus in the trailer on audio design, enhancing the visuals, that was like, I can get behind this, like 100%. This is an A24 movie, so on top of that, them going back to a more direct horror route like they used to back in the day, because they've gotten pretty big as of the last 3 or 4 years. But this feels like something A24 would have dropped earlier on in their sort of filmography, when they were like taking more risks and being more daring with the shit that they put out. This is a $500,000 movie, by the way. Put this right up there with Jimmy and Stiggs, which was a $250,000 movie. Good Boy, which was 5 figures. I don't even think it was 5 figures. I can't remember exactly. Of course, you have Skinamarink, which didn't hit for me, but like nonetheless, we have all these movies that have been in theaters and they cost less than $1 million. And this is what horror needs. This is exactly what needs to be in theaters. This is the kind of horror that I've been asking for. I want to feel like when I'm in a theater seat, I want to feel like the empty seat next to me is occupied by an entity that's going to follow me home. Watching a horror movie should be the equivalent of playing with a Ouija board. On my way back to the parking lot, imagine silhouette sitting in the backseat of my car. Toxic? Yes. And so Undertone follows a podcaster and her friend Justin, and their podcast is called Undertone. She also lives with her mom, who's in a perpetual coma, and we don't really know how she got in that coma. We don't really get a lot of backstory, and it's meant to be ambiguous because of later story threads later on. But she is hopeful that her mom will wake up. At certain points, she leaves breakfast on the nightstand and something for her to drink, and hopes that one day she'll come back and the plate's empty and the cup's empty, and she's like, "Oh, Mom, you're up." And on occasion, her mom is on the floor, and she wonders, how the fuck? How can you do that? You can't talk to me. You can't wave. Anything. Her and Justin follow the story. They receive an anonymous email with 10 audio logs that they decipher and break down every episode. And it's through this audio log that they break down that things start taking a turn, right? And so the whole thing is that their podcast is focused on analog horror, cursed videos, i.e. The Ring. The film takes a very, very intense turn when there are insinuations that the songs that we are born with, like Ring Around the Rosie, Baba, Black Sheep, London Bridge is Falling Down, there are connotations of demonic entities inside of these narratives, inside of these songs, inside of these lyrics. And from that moment on, you sort of fall into this rabbit hole with the podcasters about what this audio log that was sent to them is. There's a couple, and they're dealing through something. The boyfriend thinks the boyfriend is recording the girlfriend, who at night likes to monologue in a demonic, creepy voice. I won't spoil anything more in terms of the story, because it's in this story. It's in those elements that the mystery unravels itself, and it's in that as the mystery unravels, all the horror elements of the film amplify with it. The sound design on this movie It's so peak. It's so good. Watch this in Dolby Digital if you can, because they find a way to manufacture specific sounds from different speakers throughout the theater, and sometimes they travel from left to right, sometimes straight down the theater, sometimes they bounce and zigzag. Like it's truly incredible what this movie has done for audio, in that 60% of the horror in this film, maybe even 70, is audio based. It is fully audio based, and it amplifies the visual horror. The visual horror is few and far in between. But why this works is that when you get like that visual sort of satiation of like, hey, you want to see something, here it is. It's so satisfying because they've been stretching the fucking rubber band on this bitch until it snaps, until it can't pull anymore. This movie is a wonderful practice in sustaining tension until it's the proper time to snap that rubber band, and when you get it, you're like, hell yeah. The movie's audio is so good, and the negative space used, like there's a few shots where like she's, you know, doing the podcast and she's like here in frame, and you have all this negative space that's full of darkness, and the audio is so good that it makes you inherently paranoid every shot, and you're just staring at the dark, and the shot's there for like 2 minutes, and you could swear that the shadow is like shadows fornicating in the background. You're like, there's something there, and I'm really trying to listen, but there is something there. And on occasion there is, more times than not there isn't. And sometimes you can't even fucking tell. And that's what's brilliant about this movie, is that its horror is so ingrained in your paranoia. And the fact that this whole movie takes place in one house, in one setting, makes it even that more uncomfortable. Because I know that growing up, we've all had those moments where, like, you know, walking down the hall when you got to piss at 2 a.m. and you got to like run to the light switch to turn it on. This movie lives in that discomfort. It lives right there. It lives in that sort of childlike fear of like, I gotta pee. And it's either pee here or let the boogeyman in the hallway fucking get me. But I think I'm gonna do the boogeyman thing. And you're just standing there over the fucking door frame going like, if I just run really fast, I can hit the light bulb, I can piss, and then you're dreading the trip back. Now you got to turn off the light because the light is closer to the bathroom. Now you got all this light, all this hallway of darkness, and then you got to run to your bedroom, turn on that light, get in the bed, and then stay in the covers, realize I got to turn off the light. You know what? No, fuck it. And you don't turn off the light because boogeymen. The lore and what's happening could be akin to something like Bagul and Sinister, but even more dark than you expect, because our character is pregnant, and she's dealing with her mom's coma and these weird things that she does even though she's in a coma, and then she's also dealing with her pregnancy and being pregnant by a guy who she can't even say I love you to. And all of that seems separate, but as you progress towards the story, you start seeing the connective tissue, and it ends on a very dark note. I think, and this is where the cons are, and it's not so much cons because for me it worked. It's more mixed. I think this is where most of the people watching will be very divided, and it's in the last 2 minutes. In the last 2 minutes of this film, without spoiling anything, it emphasizes the audio over the visual. But what is speculative and what is insinuated and what is left there for you to take home is so terrifying, and it's so effective that I still am thinking about this 16 hours later. Like, I cannot stop thinking about what that ending means and how horrifying the implications of the audio at the end of the movie are. It's fucking creepy. Less is more, and when more is necessary, you use it sparingly. And the last like 20 minutes of this movie turn into like a straight up visual and audio melody of horror fornication. I can only describe this as like good blue balls. Okay? Like, and the fact that this movie makes her home feel unsafe, you know, your home, what's supposed to be her home and her childhood home, it makes it feel unsafe. And another thing that I think people will have an issue with is the main character's portrayal. She's like, out of the two, she's the skeptic, she's the cynic, and even as things are happening to her that are obviously demonic in nature, she's still skeptical. But what I saw that as is the same way that people who go, well, if I don't watch this or I don't entertain this, it's not real, I don't give it power. And it becomes progressively harder and harder for her to become cynical. You see in moments where she kind of breaks that persona and she's like, oh, this is, I can't, but that keep going. Let's keep listening. And then when her friend Justin kind of goes, could this mean this? She goes, it's just a prank. They just want attention. These audios aren't real. And she bounces back between that. And that's the complexity of her character. And but I still think that some people will have a problem with it. And it's just a matter of if you're willing to look above the surface level portrayal of her character. Like, there's no way that she is absolutely cynical about everything that's happening, because there are quite a few moments where it's in her face. The last like con is that it's very much a slow burn. I love slow burns, man, and this is perfect slow burn. This is perfect, and this is such a slow burning match of stick of dynamite. Like, it's so good. I can't even explain it. You have to experience it. Be patient, observe everything, sit in the score, embrace the audio, because the primary focus of horror here is the audio. All right. You gotta sort of stabilize your expectations, tame them. But if you tame them enough, you might get more than what you're expecting. And it is very particular, and I think that's why it wins, is because it knows what it's doing. It's very specific, and for those who it doesn't work for, that's fine. This is supposed to be for people looking for this, people who are desensitized to horror and need something that settles them in slowly. Because if you settle me in slowly, then you get under and you get under my skin, you've granted yourself the privilege of being there, if that makes sense. And this movie just, oh, it's so fucking good, dude. And what's funny is, like, I was watching this and I was like, a lot of this had it felt like a high art version of Paranormal Activity. It's not found footage, and to a lot of you, hearing that might turn you off, but hear me out. Paranormal Activity 1 was sold on the premise of, this is real. Like, this could happen. And the scares were a lot of like audio, like bumps, the occasional thing in the background, and then it ramps up the last 20-15 minutes, and you're like, yeah, and for some people that works. But what really helped behind the marketing of Paranormal Activity 1 is that it kind of came out of nowhere. A trailer, and people were like, I gotta see this. And then you see it and you go like, this is a really grounded horror film. And then obviously all the other Paranormal Activities kind of went off the fucking rails. But this Paranormal Activity, or this version, this film, feels a lot like a high auteur version of Paranormal Activity, but way more focused, way more homed in. It's fucking great. And what's funny is that as I was thinking this, the director of this film, and this is his first legit feature, is actually set up to write and direct the next Paranormal Activity resurgence film. Like, we are bringing Paranormal Activity back. And I was like, oh, this is the guy to do it, because I already thought about this halfway through the movie. I was like, this guy would make a killer Paranormal Activity, in that it would ground you in the reality and then the dangers of a paranormal thing happening to you. So if that tickles your pickle and it wets your whistle, please go watch it. Again, if you don't like demonic shit, stay away, or bring a crucifix or holy water, whatever. Bring a priest, sit him down, buy him a ticket, do what you need to do, but go watch it. It's fantastic, and that's it. That being said, thank you guys for showing up to the 15th or whatever fucking video this is. We're like a month in already, which is kind of gnarly. I'm surprised I stuck with it this long. So thank you guys for spending time with me, blab like a fucking nerd. I appreciate y'all. And as always, I will see you at the movies.